What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today, I have Cody and Christian with me, which I met in an episode of Bigger Pockets, and I loved the conversation that they have with Darren Stoyle about multifamily and just growing an empire. So, thank you guys for joining me today.
Hey, grateful to chat with you. Thank you for giving us a platform.
Hell yeah. So, let's make this more about you guys, less about me. So, how are we doing? Good?
Hanging in there.
Doing well.
Lots and lots of long days.
What's you guys' day like? Like, what do you guys have to do today?
Oh my goodness. Today is like ultimate admin day. We have a ton of paperwork, little bills to pay. We got a whole bunch of trees taken out at the resort, and we just made 4 hires. So I am getting all the onboarding docs and contracts done today. So today is mega admin day. We're probably going to go from our time, 8 a.m. to probably 9 p.m. Getting everything done, but we're going to get it all knocked out.
So when you say like hired 4 different people, how big is your team now?
I believe we're at 16 total people between the companies.
And what are you guys' strengths? Are you talking about contractors? Are you talking about acquisition?
We have a property management company, and a lot of that is on-site employees on the resort. So the resort by itself brings in 9 employees now.
Yeah, it's got the majority in the bulk.
You guys located in Denver?
We are out of Washington.
Got it. So how's this real estate market there behaving?
Doing fine where we buy. Seems like everyone, because this is an appreciating area more than a cash flowing area, just as far as the actual state goes, PNW. So most people bought for appreciation and bought on variable rate, and so
they're having a rough time.
Yeah, they're having a rough time, but I think that's happening in most markets. Specifically here, I think where we buy in Central Washington, the tertiary markets are going to do better than everywhere else.
For anybody that kind of doesn't know the story, how would you give me a pitch elevator of who you guys are? Like, how do you build your empire and where you at right now and what your goals are?
Well, how do we build it? Elevator pitch, you set a goal, and then you find the people in the market you want to invest in who have done exactly what you want to do. So in our case, we wanted to get to 100 units because that was about what we figured we needed as a partnership for me to retire my wife, him to retire his mom. That was the original goal. And so to do that quickly, you need to find people who've actually done what you want to do, and you meet them. And that's what we did. We met several owners in the market that we invest in. By several, I mean pretty much all of them.
Well, maybe a select couple, but they're in the billionaire status. So
yeah,
a little out of reach.
Yeah, there's a few that we missed, but you're meeting with one of the billionaire status people in just a little bit. But we actually met the people that have done what we want to do, and instead of asking them to sell us all their stuff, like a lot of people like to, we just learned from them and went, okay, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm trying to get to where you're at. What did you do? And when they tell you your story, how do you recommend? Like, what do you recommend my next step is? And that's basically the entire thing. And that's allowed us to amass a little bit over 100 units without syndication. Just either we buy it, or we might have a JV partner with a buyout agreement so that we'll own the real estate. But basically, it's the real estate buys the real estate, buy on long-term cash flow, over 100 units, and a waterfront resort.
And that is our 90-second, 30-second elevator pitch.
Yep.
So from you guys' perspective, I do meet with quite a few investors that have the steps and are where I want to be. How do you find value? So you guys are playing in another league that I haven't reached out yet. So how do you find yourself valuable to an investor who is just at such high level?
Yeah, so there's a point where people get in life where they have more money than they have life, and they don't all have someone to share it with. And so what I've found is the value that you bring is you allow someone to pass the torch. And I've been talking about that since the Bigger Pockets podcast, but passing on the torch, yeah, they can get more money, they can sell it for a premium. I've had people that could have sold buildings in cash for higher amounts, but the value that I brought to them and the value that I enabled them to give was pass on their legacy, pass on their story. A lot of times people, high level investors, like the really high ones, are usually older. Not always, but they tend to be older and just statistically. And so if they don't have someone to pass it on to, some new person that's probably younger, not always, but probably younger, is reaching out and asking for an opportunity to learn from their story. So that's the value. I mean, it's not always monetary, but just the ability to give someone the chance to share what they've done because they don't have anyone else to share it with.
That's at some point that's an ideal word. How have you dealt with the people that are not necessarily as open as those that want to pass on the torch?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not super open, maybe they don't want to meet again, and that happens on occasion. But most people tend to be open. You grab a coffee meeting, you learn about their story, then you just keep in touch, share things that they've taught you that helped out. That'll build trust, and then the relationship strengthens.
I find that most people who are large in real estate, who have, sizable real estate holdings, who do a lot of time in real estate, they typically want to talk about real estate with just about everyone. As you start investing, there's not a lot of people in real estate. Like, you get to join these different groups and you go into different markets. You're like, wow, it's a lot of the same people every time. It's a pretty small group who controls a lot of the real estate. So you don't have a lot of friends who are actually really interested in hearing about what you do. So when you come up to someone who's been playing the game forever and be like, hey, I am interested and I want to talk real estate, I find a majority of them want to talk real estate.
I feel you, because my family doesn't want to talk about real estate. They don't like just I touch the topic, like they go with that meeting to somewhere else.
Relatable.
How do you build that relationship as a partner? So Cody and Christian, how do you guys meet and how do you go about setting up goals to take you where you are right now?
Well, what we found, so we first partnered about a year and a half ago, maybe a little over, but I think we met 2 years ago now because I've been doing this for 4.
Yeah, we really connected it. That last growth con was late February. So when we really like met and
like 2 years this month.
Yeah, crazy.
2 years ago?
What's
2
that?
years ago?
2 years ago. But we partnered about a year and a half ago. What we found is that for our partnership, setting the goals, we both had similar financial needs to hit our goals. So we mapped out what we each wanted. He wanted to retire his wife. I want to be able to help retire my mom. And so there's a similar monetary value on that. So we said, what if we got to 100 units in 2 years? And when we were both on board with that goal, then we just set out some of our principles. We learned some the hard way and some the less hard way. But once we outlined where we're going and the principles, basically the rules we're going to follow, then it became really easy. And we just
how many units? How many units do you guys currently have?
As of end of month, we'll be at 122 in a resort.
122. So you're telling me that in a year and a half, you were able to build a 121 unit portfolio?
Yep. We wanted to do it in 2 years, get to 100 units, but it took 11 months. So we celebrated with the resort and then working on a couple other deals.
The resort is a cool deal.
It's cooler than our apartments.
It is a really cool property.
Talk to me about that deal. Like, what is it so interesting about that?
Well, it's built in 1934 by John Beckman. So he's actually the original set designer for the Disney Robin Hood movie back in the 30s. And the actual resort is called the Robin Hood Village Resort. So we have these really cool historic A-frame buildings. So you come in, it's on the water. There's kayaks on one side. You turn to the other side of the street, and it's this 10-acre campus, 17 cabins. And we bought the triplex next door to bring us to 20 units. But it's just this really, really unique piece of the Pacific Northwest, right at the foothills of the Olympic Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
It is so cool. And like almost every other deal that we've done, it's a seller finance deal where we came in and we built the relationship with the owners first, learned how to play the resort game. Cody actually lived on site with them during a majority of the transaction.
Yeah, that was a requirement.
And
that was bad.
That was a little bit much, but we went through, we learned how to run the resort, and while it's been a really fun project, it is an extremely unique asset and our largest acquisition to date.
And cash flow, I'd imagine. Are you guys more worried about the cash flow or the equity right now at this point in the game?
We're focused on both.
Oh,
We buy based on cash flow for equity growth, so we don't compromise for one or the other.
so basically going back to that, the resort, right? So you start building that relationship with this person, and they show you how to run the resort, and that is the reason why they seller finance it to you.
Well, with that one, they wanted to be cashed out.
However,
we did not have the means to cash them out.
And they had that on market for a while. So a majority of them, it's going to be the reason that they sold it to us was because we instilled enough confidence that they could lend us $3.5 million on a seller finance note. And it's an 8-year note. So it's not like it's a super short term note. It's a medium term. Oh yeah, we'll finance $3.5 million for you. So you have to have the relationship, because a resort is difficult to run, especially a smaller one. And so when you have a property like that, it's like, okay, our collateral has to be safe. So there's definitely a huge relationship piece. But for them, the real reason that they were open to the creative finance piece is it's been on market for a while. It didn't have a lot of systems. It's always had a owner operator who lives on site.
All 88 years.
Which makes it very, very hard to sell, because you have to find someone who wants to move to a remote town to run a resort and live on site, or who's going to go through all the pain of developing systems to run it like a business. So it was very hard to sell, which is why they're open to creative finance. However, the relationship is why they sold it to us.
So you guys took the time to live on site and then learn how to run it. Now do you have a person running it now?
You cut a little bit. What'd you say?
Oh, you guys have a person running the resort now?
We've got some on sites, yeah. So we've got basically our GM, and then we've got some employees that handle hot tubs, landscape, unit flips.
Gotcha. What do you guys recommend? So for somebody like a small player, somebody that's just getting started, because I am 100% like deep into seller finance, right? And one of the biggest struggles is always, oh, I will never seller finance to you. Like, what do I get from this, right? How do you convince a landlord? How do you take the landlord out of the mentality that you want something from him, her?
Well, if you built the relationship and they offer to sell, they probably want to help. There are some people out there that try and pull a fast one. We've met a few of those in Texas. But overall, if they offer to sell it to you, they probably want to help. So I just let them know your pieces, what you're working with, and then ask for what they would do in your situation.
What was you guys' first seller finance deal?
Our first one together was a 38 plex. My first one was a 12.
So which one was more interesting? Which one touched you guys' heart better?
Oh, I mean, I really like my first 12 plex. That's probably one of my favorite buildings, but the 38 plex is what put us on the map. So that was the bigger, better of the two.
How did that come across? I mean, I imagined you built the relationship, and how does that go?
That one was actually on the market, and it was on the market for 13 years.
At the same price.
Yep, they never changed price. So if someone had bought it 13 years ago, that would have been really rough, because the rents are half what they are today. But it was on the market, and as a real estate agent, I couldn't just go around the other agent and call the owner. So I called up and actually got coffee with the owner's niece, who was the broker on the deal, and tried to build a relationship and got it accepted seller financing.
Wow. And how long did that take? You make it seem like it's easy, but I don't think it's easy. You need skills for that.
It's not easy, but it's very simple. Meet with the players until you become one. Wow. Technology.
Siri had some thoughts about that.
Meeting with the players until you become one.
Yeah, you got to learn how they got there.
How
everyone wants to be self-made. I don't want to be self-made. I want to be made. So
Yeah.
the quick way to do that is to meet with the players and learn how to become one.
So what are your expectations for 2023? What are you working on?
Gonna pay off a lot of debt. That's like the big one.
Yep. we're taking a lot of, so we're doing two things. We're paying off a lot of debt, and then we're taking a boatload of our more expensive debt. So when you get started, especially in some of the private capital stuff, you bring on some debt at 8 to 12%, bringing a lot of that debt down to 5%, which is a ridiculous savings that helps cash flow a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, we're sidelining basically all the cash flow and all of the business income, and we're just paying down debts in general. A lot of people say not to do that.
We'll pay more taxes. I don't care.
Yeah, I like to own my stuff. And so paying off the debt and getting a debt-free portfolio over the next 5 years is something that we're working really hard on. In addition to still buying more and also building more.
Yeah, forever borrowing and forever paying off.
Yep.
Is your acquisition going to slow down, or you just keep going to scaling?
We'll do fewer acquisitions, but bigger deals. We have enough little roofs. We'll buy a couple more because we have some relationships over in Central Washington and they have some more small stuff. But I want to buy bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be huge, but like 20 to 60 units in Central Washington all day long. I'd rather do 3 of those than 100 little deals.
Yeah.
What's some unpopular opinion that you have about real estate?
Unpopular opinion?
Yeah, we have a lot. Just zing one out there. Cap rates don't matter. It doesn't matter to our business strategy. And there's a lot of groups that love to talk about cap rates. To be fair, they matter a little bit. If you have an exit, you need to have some idea what your market cap rate is. But as far as the deals, the cap rate on a deal.
And if you have to exit, you have a flawed business model.
Yeah.
Some people don't agree with that. Like, well, you should figure out an exit. You should actually get your cash. I don't think so, because if you're just going to get the cash and buy a new deal, just keep the current deal and buy another deal.
Mm-hmm. And there's 2 pieces of the cap rate not mattering. One, we don't sell. So if I know that I can get the property in long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt, who cares? The cap rate's insignificant because I'm never selling it. But in addition, cap rate doesn't take into account debt, and we're creative finance guys. The debt is the main thing that we negotiate. So when the interest rate, the payments are all made up, it's like, okay, the cap rate on the deal, it's good to know it as a benchmark, but it's not really a significant part of the equation for do we want to buy it? The real question is just how we're going to buy it, what is the deal, and how do we never lose it, which is that long-term cash flowing debt. So fixed rate debt.
You don't plan on selling. Like that's not in your goals.
I mean, why would we sell? I've never heard a good reason to sell, and everybody that does it seems to kick themselves.
What other unpopular opinion? You say you had a lot.
Flipping is dumb. Wholesaling is overrated.
Wholesaling is overrated. I will agree with that one, but why do you say that?
If it's a good enough deal to sell, it's a good enough deal to buy. And it takes the same amount of creativity to get something under contract, build a relationship, and then sell it off to someone else as it does to just buy the real estate.
And if you bought it yourself,
you'd make more money.
Before the markup, you can buy a better deal than the person who's buying the deal from you. I'd rather just figure out how to own it, because the people who own it always make more.
How do you
Unless you buy a terrible deal, in which case you just lose. But generally speaking, if it's a deal worth buying, that's the other thing. If you're wholesaling a deal because it's a crappy deal that you don't want to do, I also have an ethical issue with that. So it's like if you're actually selling good deals to other people, you should just be buying them.
What about networking? Where are you guys networking now? What's the next step after you get to multiple properties and you just want to scale to a point where not everybody that you're going to meet is going to have 100 properties like you guys?
Yeah, I just try and find the next room. Like I keep staying in the rooms that I'm at, because it's like you build the relationships. They help you get to where you're at. They're always in the room. But to get in the room with like the next person, I look to the big players in space. So I meet with Ken McElroy in about a week and a half, and just trying to meet with bigger and bigger players. I met with them in the past, but I try to get back into that room because they can forever teach me more than a book can.
Are you guys in any mentorship program right now?
No, we learn from the people directly who are in our market where we want to play. So as we start to expand, we just meet more and more people who do what we want to do. We get new goals, because I recently retired my wife, so we hit my first goal. Cody's doing some remodels to his mom's house and then buying her a new house as part of the retirement thing. So we have the finances to do Cody's piece. His goal takes a little bit more time logistically. But once we hit those two goals and those are out of the way, we set new goals, and then we're going to meet directly with the people who have done that. So as in lieu of being part of a mentorship group, we go out and we meet the people and we do it the hard way. I'm going to drive out and meet one-on-one. We do run a mentorship group though, for people who want to not go through as much pain. We do spend a lot of time in our group on the multifamilystrategy.com, just teaching people how we played the game, and we'll do the learning and make the mistakes for you as much as we can, and then we'll try to build it better so you can do it faster.
In this mentorship program, tell me a little bit more about that. How do you guys go about mentoring people? What are some things that you are trying to implement now?
It started off as a one-off idea in this house.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a story for another time. But yeah, started off here as a one-off idea, called up a buddy, and we started doing these calls, and we've refined it a lot over the last year and year and a quarter, year and a half.
Yeah, it started as one-on-ones, and we found that no one on a one-on-one Zoom meeting would buy real estate. It just was not happening. There's one group of guys who actually did really well, but we keep coaching people and we get the same questions every single week from people. I want to do this, and we go through the kind of the same curriculum, and I'm like, wow, we're saying the same things every single week. There's got to be a better way to do this.
Over and over and over.
Talk to some course design people, and they're like, okay, you need to actually create a community so people can work together and learn from each other. And so we brought that into group calls. We had our YouTube channel launch, and then on YouTube, everyone's like, go more into depth. I'm like, well, I would go more into depth, but then the videos don't get any views. You have to stay the right amount of high level where it's punchy, that people get a real valuable takeaway, but it is not a coaching platform. So we launched the course, and the course spawned a mentorship, and the mentorship now is about 50 people who meet up 3 times a week, and we talk everything on the creative finance. We hammer due diligence all the time because it's really important in creative finance. There's no bank underwriter. So we talk how to analyze your deal, how to make sure that you can buy and keep all of your properties. But it's evolved over time. Best success story we have for anyone listening, Caleb and Chuck, they're on YouTube. Their channel's called Caleb and Chuck. Hard to miss them. They were 19. They had absolutely no sales experience. If there is a level, I thought the scale started at level 1. They started like level -3, and they came a long way. Absolutely no money, absolutely no experience. They bought 3 deals out of state for they're up to 28 units now. They just turned 20, but really, really cool in that group, starting to see people of all ages have a lot of success doing the same creative finance stuff that we're doing.
So it is possible, but those people are very driven, I imagine.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Freak of nature.
I remember you were just talking about like we're starting to see the same over and over and over. That brought me to the question. What are some questions on things that people in podcasts don't ask you that you wish they did?
Never been asked that question.
I know. I'm thinking through that. Yeah, so you just asked a question that people on podcasts don't ask. That was
It's like, are all of you guys' conversations in podcasts the same? Like, am I going through the same thing?
They're not all the same, but a lot of them have similar trends. What do I wish people asked us more?
Maybe dig into partnership principles.
Yeah, people like to talk a lot about the creative finance, but I think the partnership stuff that we've done a lot as a duo, and we have some principles that I think it allowed us to go as fast as we did, where we had this 2-year goal to get to 100 units. We did it in 11 months. That was purely because of the way we partnered.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was hard.
So partnership to you guys is underrated.
I'm sorry, that cut out just a little bit. Say that one more time.
To you guys, partnership is something that is underrated.
Yes. Partnership. Well, it's not, I wouldn't say underrated. I think a lot of people recognize you need people to move forward, and a lot of people want to partner.
We just operate ours a little differently. We don't compete with each other. Everything's 50-50. We don't renegotiate.
How so? How so? So everything you guys do together is just not even non-negotiable. It's like if you guys were one entity.
Correct.
Yep. We move as one unit, and I see a lot of teams where from the get-go, they don't set their goals, so no one knows what direction they're heading, and that is the quickest way to crash your partnership, or your friendships, or your marriages, or your whatever. I mean, anything where you're with other people, if you are not headed the same direction, it's gonna be awful. The 50-50 thing, we learned really early. There is absolutely no such thing as an even partnership anywhere. There are going to be times when one person is just more valuable. When we started and I was learning creative finance, and Cody had already figured out how to buy 30 units by 21 years old, which he scaled all the way to 81 units while he was still 21. Like, Cody brought more value to the team because we were in hard acquisition mode. I bought 2 duplexes. He'd bought a 12-plex, a 12-plex, and a 6-plex. Cody had a more valuable skill. What I brought was a little bit of organization and some money.
No, I didn't have that.
Yeah, and having money is valuable, but that's not going to be the longevity, because we spent all my money within the first month of partnership. Cody is really good at aligning capital, but when you align it does in fact go somewhere else. So my value changes there, right? I'm like, okay, well, the money's in, and Cody has most of the skills. I learned a lot of how to network and put together the creative strategies, and we're both really good at deal structure as far as the creative structure. Then we move into this admin phase.
Is that something that you guys built together, or were you just good at the deals?
So we both actually had the same original mentor. Terrible business operator. We learned so much about how not to run a business from him, but amazing at creative finance. When we have that rule, how to buy it, how to never lose it, he was the master of how to buy it, and he is the reason that we had to add a rule, how to never lose it. He is a master of buying insanely cool assets without doing any due diligence or financial logic, and then losing said assets. So
he's the one that taught me it's really easy to buy real estate and even easier to lose it.
Yeah. So we learned very early on that it is easy to buy anything when you understand the basics of negotiation. Instead of going after, well, this is what I want, learn what the other party wants, line up an offer that matches that and hits your objectives. We always get a yes when we submit an offer, because we're not just slinging offers out on properties.
We have a couple of brokers that want us to.
But yeah, outside of a few, like we've gotten a cold call from a broker who's like, do you want to buy this 10-plex? Like, yes. But outside of that, every deal, it was one of the best deals we've ever done. I don't know how that fell into our lap, but it just did. But outside of that, it's all conversations over months or years, where I know exactly what they're trying to do. So when we line up an offer, we know without any doubt that we are hitting every single one of their objectives. But that's why we structure deals. For the partnership part, we have this big acquisition phase. Cody has more value. He also knows how to manage some of these assets better than I did. Well, then we get into the actual structure of, okay, we need a property management company, which we started, and going through the legal process there and all the hoops you have to jump through. The detail work I ended up being a little bit better at, and just planning out, not doing the accounting, but figuring out who do we need, how do we need to do it, the actual business structure, I'm a lot better at. And so we hit the stabilization season where,
I'm glad I don't have to do it.
I'll
tell you that.
But we had this stabilization season where it's like, I'm doing these admin things. Cody is the acquisition guy, and he's like, well, we can't acquire more stuff until we have systems. So
I'm not allowed to buy until we build the systems.
Yep. And so it's like, okay, I'm more valuable. If you have, and then we're getting into optimize, which I think is going to be really fun, because that might be the point where we're closest to 50-50, because Cody's aligning a bunch of capital as we're building some buildings, and there's a ton of logistics that goes into going through each of the steps, making sure we don't miss stuff. But then we go back into build. Cody will be stronger, stabilize, I'll be stronger, optimize, we'll both come side by side, and then rinse and repeat. If you get weird about, okay, you get 60%, or I'm doing more right now, I feel like I deserve more money, you're going to crash the partnership. It's 50-50. There's no negotiation. We don't think about it. And that's just a rule. So when it comes up, it's like, okay, I'm doing a lot of work right now. Did we make millions of dollars this year? Yes, we did. That's good enough for me. Move on.
Wow, that's pure gold right there. I don't think people take this for granted. I don't think that many people like go in partnerships thinking they always go, oh, 33%, but I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. I need to get me a 50-50 partner.
Well, it's not 50-50. I mean, it's 100-100. That's the difference. We give it 100% all the time.
And when you find the right partner, well, voice crack. Wow, that's going on. That's going on air. When you find the right partner, I just woke up.
I haven't woken up yet.
When you find the right partner, 1 + 1 = 3 or greater. Like if for example, there's two of me, you have the exact same person. You have Christian and Christian. I would be twice as good as I am. Like I'd just be able to do twice as many of the same activities at the same level. When you have someone who brings unique skills, like Cody has, fantastic relationship building, and he is really, because of his age, he's really inspiring. So his ability to raise capital is phenomenal because he attracts a lot of people to the story. And those are awesome traits. I can do more of the detail work and remember to come back and fill in the gaps to make sure that we don't miss any steps along the way at a high level. Cody would have a very, very big, very, very hectic existence without me. I would have a very small, very organized existence without Cody. When the two of us come together, we pick up over 100 units in less than a year of partnership. We stabilize the assets. It runs amazingly, but you have to find that partnership where, in addition to being 100% on effort, you have complementary skills where it just takes you farther than you'd be by yourself.
Wow, you could have not said it better. That's really good. Wow, partnerships huge. I'm gonna take all of you guys' advice. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It works.
It has worked thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I only listen to people that are where I want to be. So I'll take your word for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was a book. It's a book's called Traction. There's two major roles, and it is the visionary and integrator. They did a whole bunch of studies on partnerships, and the ones that are the most successful are typically, and it was something along the lines of 80% of the time. Don't quote me on that, but it is a vast majority. The partnerships that go the farthest, you have one person who is the visionary, who is the one who drives growth, and they're typically, this is just personality trait things. They typically stress out their team. They're the hardest to work with. They're not good with details.
I fit all of the descriptions.
They drive a vast majority of the revenue, and they do a vast majority of the direction for the company, which is insanely valuable. But when you're working with them, it kind of feels like you're strapped to a rocket, which fits the bill for Cody. It's like he is the engine on a lot of the stuff. Then when you look at an integrator, they are the ones who look at how. They're the ones who have to tell the visionary no, which is usually really rough because visionaries don't like that. But they're the ones who go, okay, this is what we should do. This is what we're not doing. Here's our long-term plan. How do we actually organize this into, 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year budgets of what are we actually trying to accomplish, and are we making decisions that bring us all in the same direction? Because a visionary can get distracted. I've never met one who doesn't have shiny object syndrome.
Never.
Even the ones who we work close with or we mentor at other companies, or not mentor, but we've been mentored by. There's always one person who's just like, ooh, we need to do this project. And they have an integrator who's like, no, we're not doing that right now. We're focused on these things. But when you have that combo.
I get told no so many times.
Me too. Yeah, I feel that.
But when you have the combo, it goes so much farther. And really, the two roles fall right into our underwriting criteria. You have the how do we buy it and the how do we never lose it. The visionary and the integrator. It's a really strong combo. If there's any personality trait you can try to line up, that's typically going to be the dream team.
Wow. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. How does your relationship, Cody? How's your relationship with Christian? Does he tell you no all the time?
No,
I say yes too much.
And then he gets told no from his wife.
Yep.
Not good.
So your wife is the integrator in this case.
He can become the the group integrator.
Yeah,
She gets veto power.
She falls into a different category, but she's more organized than either of us.
Far.
But she is a administrative guru. She is really good at just knocking the stuff out. She's also a really good salesperson. But when
that amazed me.
That was a surprise. She quit her job as a kindergarten teacher with no sales experience. Came in, looked at some of our systems. We're like, okay, I'm going to sell the weddings, and we just started booking all the weddings for our venue. We had a sales team on it, and they were not closing much. And she's like, "Well, this is what we need to do," and just started closing. I was like, "Well, that was a happy surprise."
Yeah.
But different people will bring different stuff. The actual integrations thing, that definitely falls pretty heavily on me for what systems do we need to create. My wife is the one who comes in and goes, okay, on a minute detail, how do the systems need to be refined? Because once I create a system, I become the visionary for the systems, and then my wife integrates the individual systems. We have layers to this.
And then I find another deal I want to buy, and then either a yay or nay. And it'll only be a yes if it's the most baller asset we've purchased.
Yeah.
For the meantime, because we really have to optimize our current stuff.
Yeah, we can't take on major projects right now until our current stuff is either stabilized or optimized, depending on which project.
What are you guys' main takeaways from everything that you've done?
It's a lot simpler than most people think. As far as buying real estate, it's your DDE, you got your deal, then your debt, then your equity. That's it. And it goes in that order. So if you can get the deal in 100% debt, you don't need any equity. And if you have a little debt, then you need a lot of equity. So there's lots of sliding scales in that they get to balance. But when it comes to buying real estate, it's just super simple.
Mm-hmm.
Meet with the people, learn how they did it, repeat it, and boom, you own real estate.
Solid. How can people reach out to you, if, especially for your mentorship program? How can they connect through that? What's the best way to communicate with you guys?
Well, the mentorship program itself is it's on the multifamilystrategy.com. So you can check it out there. If you want to learn more about it or have questions, you can DM us directly on Instagram. That's usually the easiest place to find us. I'm at Christian Osgood because I have a unique name. So I actually get my name. He's
doing Cody things because I'm in fact always doing Cody things.
And if you guys want to check out our YouTube channel, we share everything for free. Again, we have to keep it interesting and punchy enough. Otherwise, no one will watch it. But we do share literally everything we learn. We put on YouTube, and you can absolutely piece together the whole strategy by watching a lot of hours of video there. That is Cody and Christian Multifamily Strategy.
All right, I'll put that in the comments. And wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. This was very valuable. Not only real estate, but partnership wise, I think it's a lot of information, and people should watch this before they ever get into real estate. They need people. People need people.
Yep.
Facts.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for sticking. If you made it this far, please subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one.